We got manipulative and gold digging women. Why are they a big mistake for men? Like, why is that such a big threat?
Well, if you are somebody who is inexperienced and maybe you haven't had a lot of, you haven't had a lot of sexual partners, you haven't had a lot of girlfriends, you haven't had a lot of relationships, then you are particularly prone to this kind of thing. And it's, the thing about gold diggers can get overstated at times. I've seen people on Twitter saying things like, you're so worried about gold diggers and you're earning 40,000 a year. What the F sort of thing. And I can see that point of view. I think it gets a bit overstated. Guys can be like, oh my God, is she a gold digger? And I think actual gold diggers who are only after money, I think it's a very, very small minority of women who are really just so cynical. And it's just like, I'm just in this for the cash. But you can certainly get women who are manipulative in terms of wanting to just shape things to their own agenda. And this happened to me with a relationship a couple of years ago. I was with this girl, and it was pretty clear that, she wanted to get married. She wanted to have a family. She wanted to, do the whole thing. And, I was being primed for that position. And I was just the right guy in that place at the right time. Or so she thought. I then blew the relationship up and got out of it. But she was, and it's not that she was like an evil person or that she was sitting there with this big master plan, but she clearly wanted certain things. And, I was a homeowner. I had a property. I think she quite liked that. I think that ticked one of her boxes because she was like, oh, this guy's got some equity in London and he's got this other place abroad. And, there were certain things I was ticking some boxes, and I think she wanted things to go a certain way. And looking back on it now, I could see that her behavior was very manipulative towards me. And fortunately for me, I was able to sort of break out of that relationship. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but I was able to get out of it because I knew that I had abundance. I knew that I wouldn't just be, just sitting on my own 3 years later, crying about it sort of thing.
Well, we know women, generally speaking, are solipsistic, right? So they have a difficult time seeing past their own noses, and they tend to make decisions and choices that are more closely aligned with their own best interests. Like they're kind of born with mental point of origin hardwired into their framework. But what sort of manipulation would you suggest guys need to keep their eyes open for?
Well, I think anything that is potentially going to take you off your purpose, really. It's kind of like, because with this particular girl, it was like I had certain things that I wanted to do. I was working in a corporate job at the time, but I also wanted to do writing. I wanted to build my business on the side. I had various different things that I was working on, and I was pretty busy. I mean, I've always been a pretty busy sort of guy. I've always been quite driven and had various different things going on at a time. And obviously a relationship can conflict with that because they want to take up a load of your time. But with this girl, it was very clear that she just had different plans. Her plan wasn't any of the stuff that I wanted to do. Her plan was, right, let's live together, let's get engaged, let's have a kid and probably move to somewhere in the suburbs and just do all of that. And so all of my stuff was just getting bulldozed out the way. And it was very clear from very early on. So I think it's very subtle, isn't it? But for me, the way I experienced it, and by the way, this was only really the second time I'd ever lived with a woman. And I only allowed it to continue for 6 months because it was such a nightmare. But it was very, it's the death by a thousand cuts thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like she'll say, oh, don't go out on Friday and see your friends because I want to see you on Friday. And then it's just one little thing after another. And it's not like you can immediately point to her and go, you're being manipulative. And she's sitting there like, cackling. But it's just like when you look at it en masse, you can see that there's just this build-up of different things. She's just pushing your behavior. So I think it's anything that's threatening to take you off the path that you had in mind for yourself is potentially manipulative, and you've got to look out for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that manipulation is something that kind of creeps up on you. I've been in a couple of relationships where you start hearing nonsense like, well, Rich, we don't do things that way, or Rich, that's not how it's done. It's got to be done like this.
Yeah.
And you'll run into that with women from time to time. Some are worse than others. Others are very, agreeable and in your frame. But I think that if you find yourself in a scenario where you feel like you're constantly, taking out a stamp and stamping everything. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Whatever you say, honey. Yes. Just stamping all that shit all day long. Giving up your hopes, dreams, ambitions, and desires to placate towards all of hers all the time. You're definitely in something that's a manipulative relationship. As far as gold digging, well, women are hypergamous, which kind of implies that all women by nature would like to be with somebody higher up on the socioeconomic scale.
Yeah.
So I think you're gonna have a hard time not seeing that, or some degree of that. But there are a lot of women that are really looking for financial resources, acquisition of assets from guys. They say that men are hunters and women are gatherers. We go out and hunt and acquire resources and monetary sort of rewards, maybe assets like homes, lake houses, boats, cars, stuff like that. And women will tend to gather, bits and pieces of that from, the men that end up sometimes in their lives. So you do have to be aware of that. I mean, you do have to, draw a bit of a protective perimeter boundary around you and your assets, and be very, very careful about who you let in on the inside. Because if you're going to get involved with a woman that really just treats you like an ATM, and just sort of milks you for advancing her own further agenda, you can really create a train wreck for yourself. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you say, there's different degrees of it, isn't there? Because you've got the sort of stereotypical, almost like Ukrainian or Russian girl who's just like, "Oh, buy me a handbag," sort of thing. And there's that. Yeah. There's that. Which
YouTube channel is actually dedicated to that. I can't remember what it's called, but it's some chick that like sells it under the guise of how to date high value men.
Yeah,
it's basically a gold digger. I mean, there's no way around.
Yeah. I've seen that channel actually, because when I went on to Beauty Meets Beast, that, I don't know if you've seen that. A couple of the guys have been onto it, but they get a girl to interview a guy in this space. I went onto that, and they got me to prep for it. They got me to watch that channel, and it is very sort of like, right, and this is how you get him to buy you a I don't know, Chanel.
If he doesn't buy you a handbag, then you have to shame him like this, right?
Yeah.
Entire strategy about, I'm not flying in coach, but you've got to fly in first class, and if you don't fly me in first class, and you're not a man, sort of thing, right? So it follows through with either shaming tactics or some pointing and sputtering. So you got to be good at identifying it. I mean, you can fly a woman either way you want, even if you have the financial resources to put her in first class. At the end of the day, it's up to you, what it is that you want to tolerate with gold digging and manipulative type of behavior. Let's grab the super chat here real quick. So, there's two of them here. ZDM314 says, just wondering, after last LTR, how did you deal with the grief and loneliness of the breakup, fresh out of a 14-year relationship, and it's bad? So he's talking about grief and loneliness.
Well, it's tough, isn't it? And 14 years is a very long time. So, I mean, there is no easy answer to this, I don't think, other than you've just got to, for a start, you've got to make that rock solid commitment to yourself at the beginning. She is now effectively dead to me. There is no going back. I'm going to delete all of her contact details. I'm going to delete her social media. I'm not going to look at her social media. I'm not going to talk. Obviously, I'm not going to talk to her, but I'm not going to talk to any of her friends. I'm not going to talk to anybody who knows her. I'm just going to make a complete break, because you need to have that complete break from her. If you relapse on it at all, if you take a peek at her Instagram or something, it's just going to bring it all flooding back, right? You've got to have that cold turkey, and then you've just got to have a very structured, ordered life. You've got to be like, right, okay, so tomorrow I'm getting up at 6 a.m. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to work for 3 hours. I'm going to do X, Y, Z, whatever it is, and you've just got to push through it. And I don't think that unfortunately there's an easy way through this, but you've just got to. You know the old saying, if you're going through hell, keep going. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've just got to keep that forward momentum.